Hello and welcome to a special holiday edition of From the Pastor's Heart. Tomorrow, I'm recording this on Saturday. Tomorrow is the first Sunday of Advent. And I don't know about you, but in my family, we try to keep the Advent season special. And years ago, Jane bought a book. It was about keeping Advent special and had different things to read and so on during the Advent season. And I think it was the second week of Advent. Chuck Swindoll wrote something, and he made an interesting observation. I'd like to read that for you and to kind of spur us into what I want to talk about today. And he said, if Dan Rather had been living in 1809, his evening news broadcast would have concentrated on Austria, not Britain or America. In fact, the attention of the entire world was on Napoleon as he swept across helpless hamlets like fire across a Kansas wheat field. Nothing else was half as significant on the international scene. The broad brushstrokes on the historian's canvas give singular emphasis to the bloody scenes of tyranny created by the little dictator of France. From Trafalgar to Waterloo, his name was a synonym for superiority. Now, at the time of invasions and battles, babies were being born in Britain and America. But who was interested in babies in bottles and cradles and cribs while history was being made? What could possibly be more important in 1809 than the fall of Austria? Who cared about English-speaking infants that year when Europe was in the limelight? Well, somebody should have, because a host of thinkers and statesmen drew their first breath in 1809. William Gladstone was born in Liverpool. Alfred Tennyson began his life in Lincolnshire. Oliver Wendell Holmes cried out in Cambridge, Massachusetts for the first time. Edgar Allan Poe, just a few miles away in Boston, started his brief and tragic life. A doctor named Darwin and his wife called their infant son Charles Robert. Robert Charles Winthrop wore his first diapers in 1809. In a rugged log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, owned by an illiterate wandering laborer, was filled with the infant screams of a newborn baby named Abraham Lincoln. All that and more happened in 1809. But who cared? The destiny of the world was being shaped on the battlefields of Austria. Or was it? No, indeed. You see, only a handful of history buffs today could even name one Austrian campaign. But who can measure the impact of those other lives? What appeared to be super significant to the world has proven to be no more exciting than a Sunday afternoon yawn. What seemed to be totally insignificant was, in fact, the genesis of an era. And then, now, if you go back 18 centuries before that, who would have cared about the birth of a baby? While the world was watching Rome in all of her splendor, bounded on the west by the Atlantic Ocean, on the east by the Euphrates, on the north by the Rhine and the Danube, on the south by the Sahara Desert. The Roman Empire was as vast as it was vicious. Political intrigue, racial tension, increased immorality, and enormous military might occupied everyone's attention and conversation. Palestine existed under the crush of Rome's heavy boot. All eyes were on Augustus, the cynical Caesar, who demanded a census so as to determine a measurement to raise taxes. And at that time, who was interested in a couple making an 80-mile trip south from Nazareth? What could possibly be more important than Caesar's decisions in Rome? Who cared about a Jewish baby boy born in Bethlehem? Well, God did. Without realizing it, mighty Augustus was only an errand boy for the fulfillment of Micah's prediction. He was a pawn in God's hands, a piece of lint on the pages of prophecy. While Rome was busy making history, God arrived. He pitched his fleshly tent in silence on straw, in a stable, under a star. The world didn't even notice. Reeling from the wake of Alexander the Great, Herod the Great, Augustus the Great, the world overlooked Mary's little lamb, and it still does. Good words. Words of reminder. But folks, today we don't have conquering armies to get in the way. We have life. We have bills to pay, jobs to accomplish, presents to buy, programs and parties to attend, that it is so easy to miss out on the wonder of Christmas. I mean, how often do we play at the holiday or get caught up in the hype so that when Christmas is over, we look back on it all and we wonder, why did we even bother? And so today, I'd like to give you 10 suggestions for making this Advent season special. Take any one of them, take none of them. I will not be offended. This is unasked for advice after all. But 10 things that I think would go a long way into helping make Advent special. So the first thing is to keep an Advent prayer book. In other words, pray for each other, for each person who you send cards to as you send them. And then pray for each person who sends you a card as you receive them. And it's a simple thing to do, won't take that much time. Number 2, ask forgiveness of those that you may have wronged. I mean, one of the foremost words associated with the holiday season is peace. Peace on earth. Peace, goodwill toward men. Peace among brothers. Peace in our hearts. But true peace, however, comes only as the result of forgiveness. So make Advent your season to ask forgiveness for those that you may have wronged during the past year. Don't arrive at the Christmas manger bearing a burden of guilt, hate, vengefulness, and bitterness. Number 3, kids don't always like this, but I think it's a good idea. Limit the wish list. You see, disappointment generally arises when we have expected more than we have received. So don't let Christmas be a time of disappointment. Expect only what you have been promised. Forgiveness for sins repented of. Healing for brokenness in our lives. Grace abundant and mercy unmerited. Joy out of sorrow and gladness out of mourning. His promises are too numerous to count. His blessings are too wonderful to contain. So look to the Lord for your gifts this Christmas season. And if you do that, you will not be disappointed. But what about the kids, you may ask? Well, encourage them to rethink their wish lists. So maybe you might want to limit the dollar amount. Limit the number of gifts. Maybe give them a title. We do 3 gifts for our children. 3. Something that you want, something that you need, and something that's special just for you. So we have a name for each one of them. Maybe one item that you might want to give to somebody else. So encourage giving lists and balance getting lists with giving lists to make sure that we have our priorities right. Number 4, say I love you to someone who hasn't heard it in a while. Maybe to a parent. Especially if you are grown. We sometimes forget to tell our parents how much we love them. Maybe it's an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, or maybe somebody who you haven't contacted in a while. Somebody who has meant something. It could be an old friend. To a child. Children never get tired of hearing I love you. Your husband to your wife. Do something special just for the two of you, for your wife, for your husband. Or just say, I appreciate you. But take the time out to make sure that you're honing in on somebody who means something to you and make sure that they know it. Number 5, reflect on his coming. Spend time maybe each morning before everyone gets up. Or if you're a night person, in the evening after everyone has gone to bed. Maybe get a devotion book, one that talks about the coming of the Lord. And just spend some time thinking about the impossible happening, about God becoming a man. Don't overthink it, but just spend some time and think about this amazing gift that God has given us. Number 6, keep a manger scene central to Christmas. In other words, give a manger scene prominence among your Christmas decorations. Tell the story to your children, or maybe to your cats or your dogs, and move the people around as they come into the story. A friend of mine, they actually do that. That the camels get closer and closer as they get closer to Christmas. They don't actually put the baby Jesus in the creche until Christmas Eve. Anything that will just keep it alive. Number 7, share an old tradition with a child who has never experienced it. I mean, weren't there different things that you did as a kid that maybe that you did every year with your family? Maybe it was a ride around town to see the Christmas lights, or might be going to see the Nutcracker Ballet, or last minute Christmas Eve shopping trip. Those things that were special to you. Share those with somebody. Maybe showing a favorite movie classic with somebody who may not have seen it, or maybe somebody just may be alone and might want to spend the time with you. See that there are children all over town that you can help make the year special for. So maybe you may want to find somebody who is maybe just part of your sphere of influence. Could be in the church, could be somebody that you see in town, and share something with them. Number 8, I can't overstress this: buy your gifts early. You see, now I know that we try to have all of our gifts bought before the first Sunday of Advent. And we do that so that we don't stress throughout the rest of the season, that we can go on and we can enjoy the moments without being too bogged down with the stress of having to find that perfect gift. Number 9, wrap an extra gift or two. I mean, nearly all of us have unexpected Christmas gifts, get a guest that may show up at some time in our life. Or maybe somebody that we come in contact with, maybe we just feel that God wants us to bless them. So here are some ideas. Maybe wrap a book, maybe a coffee or teas or something in a sealed tin. Just something small, something that just says that you matter, and have something like that on hand. And again, I mean, not just as an afterthought, but something you actually think people would enjoy. And then number 10, remember those who serve us all during the holiday season. Folks, there are many soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and so on, who are all across the world who serve us. And spend some time and think about them, and how they're away from their families, so that we can have the freedom that we enjoy. Maybe somebody the postman who's overworked during the holiday season, giving and all these extra packages and so on. Remember them. Maybe it could be the UPS driver who you see all the time, bringing those, or the Amazon driver. But those people who serve us during the holiday season, those who work at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, if you're in the Northeast, who we get our holiday coffee from, and we don't really think about them, but think about them. Let them know that they're valued. And the people who serve us could be the first responders in your community, the firemen, the sheriff, police, and so on. Make sure that they know that they are valued, because they're spending time away from their family and they don't get holidays off. And then I have a bonus one, number 11. Don't overspend. If at all possible, try to cash out on the holidays. You see, we don't want to forget the reason that we celebrate. We are celebrating the most precious gift ever given, the gift of God's Son who came to die for us. And so all this out here is to help us to not get so caught up in the season that we forget the reason for the season, and that is the birth of Jesus. And it's because of his birth, because of his death, because he rose again, because of his life that we have life. It was the greatest gift ever given to us. And so I pray that we wouldn't be so caught up in the pressure of giving the right gifts and so on, that we forget about the most important reason. Family, friends, those things. When God sent Jesus, he sent a person. He sent somebody to say, I love you. And I think that's something that we can do as well. So I would encourage you this Advent season to have a great time. Enjoy yourselves. please try not to stress out about it, because the most important thing that you can pass on to your children, to your friends, to those in your sphere of influence, is how much you love them. And the reason that you love them is because Jesus loves us first. So again, I pray that you have a wonderful Advent season, and I look forward to seeing you again in a future video. God bless you all.